So we're back at it, trying to take off everything that connects the body to the frame. And a large portion of those things are the air conditioning system. The other day when I was taking out the radiator, I noticed that the condenser coil or evaporator coil, the one in the front of the radiator, had oil stains on it where you could tell it was leaking. So, and this air conditioner has not worked since the day I got it, which was in 2005, so it's been 16 years with a hole in it. So I suspected there was nothing in the system. So there's two ports here where they're used to charge the system if you need it, and they have little valves inside them like you have in your tire where you inflate them. And just to make sure that there's nothing in the system, I took the caps off and I used an Allen wrench to get in there and just depress that valve. And I can depress it all the way down and nothing comes out. There's absolutely nothing there. I did that on both of the service ports. There's one more port way down underneath that I will check before I go taking the system off. Let's see if I can get a camera angle on it. There it is right there. But I can't get a tool in there to get it out. I'm going to take out the overflow tank for the radiator to give myself some more room. In order to do that, underneath the fender, there are 3 bolts, look to be 3/8 inch. One there, one over here, there's one down here. Thought there was one more towards the front, but apparently not. I can't see it here. So I'm going to take those bolts out, and I think I'll have room to wiggle the overflow tank out and get some room so I can check that last valve, make sure there's no pressure in the system. So the easiest way to get under there and get that is with one of my favorite tricks, long extension on a ratchet, and easily reaches up under there without having to get in all kind of weird positions. There's a zip tie holding the overflow hoses on, and hopefully we can get this wiggle out of here. Not going to be easy, as usual. Okay, since that's not going to give a lot of room, the next thing I'll do to try and give myself some room is to loosen the actual air conditioner compressor and see if I can't rotate it out of the way. Looked like it was a 1/2 inch. Not going to move much because it's going to run into the there's another bolt down in here that is probably preventing it from pivoting. Okay, it's got a nut on the other end. So again, as I often do, I think the best way is to put an extension on the ratchet to hold the nut on the other side. Open end to the box end wrench to hold the bolt. Give myself some room to get at it. Not going to give me a whole lot of room to play with. There must still be something else holding it. There is another bracket on the bottom in the back. It appears that's a bigger than a ½ inch, probably 9/16. I don't think I've mentioned it before, but I prefer to use 6-point sockets. They're less likely to strip the bolts. That's loose and it just fell out of it. 1, 2, 3, you're loose. Oh, dummy. The bolt that allows it to rotate is further down on the bracket. There it is. There's actually 2 pieces to this bracket, and normally the adjustment's at the top. There you go. This one was further down. Well, I guess there's going to be some wiggling around to that expansion tank to get it out. So I went and tried to wiggle that out of there, and it was a no-go. What I did next, I removed the valve cover, and still the air conditioning unit was hitting up against the valve cover. So the next thing I did, and I thought I left it up there so that it could be seen, but, oh, there it is. I'll go point to it. There was a The air conditioner hose was held to the inside of the fender with this clamp with a nut and bolt that went through the fender well, the wheel well. So now let's see if we can get enough room on that to get it out. Oh, by the way, there was another wire over here that had to be pulled off. It pulls straight down from the unit here with the service port. That son of a gun still doesn't want to come out of there. The air conditioner compressor still won't go over far enough to get that out. I think what's holding it on now is the bolt that actually allows you to adjust the belt tension on it. So I'm going to completely remove that because it's at the end of its track to see if I can get the compressor to move over further. Okay, I've gotten that bolt out of the adjusting arm. The air compressor unit is all the way up against the rocker arms now. It's still a very tight fit, but finally was able to wiggle it out of there. Looks like I probably lost a clip off of this one. I'll have to dig that out and find it. And there's still some antifreeze in here, so I'm going to have to go dispose of that. But the overflow tank is out. So now with that overflow tank out of the way, I was able to get in there and take the cap off of the service port down under here. And I'm just going to depress that valve to make sure there's no pressure in there as well. Like I said, it's highly unlikely there's anything in there because it didn't work 15, 16 years ago when I got the car. And as I said, I found the hole in the evaporator, condenser, whatever it is up front. And I'm depressing these valves all the way and nothing is coming out. Not even a hint of pressure in there, which is what I expected to find. So, what I decided a long time ago, even before I started to tear this apart, that when I did tear it apart, I was going to decide two things. Well, actually one thing. Decide if I wanted air, because I had already decided that if I was going to put air conditioning back in the car or make this work, it was going to be a better plan, in my opinion, to just go with the vintage air. It's more money, but everything's new, and as opposed to everything in this car is 45 years old. So now if the condenser evaporator had a hole in it, how far behind could the one that is inside the car be? So I was just taking the easy way out and cutting these hoses, since there's nothing in there. And after I get the hoses out, I will finish taking the bolts off for the compressor. Keep knocking stuff off of the fender here. This, by the way, is where that other wire had to be disconnected, because this wire was in the way of that expansion tank. Well, I see why I'm having trouble cutting through these. It's the design of the tool. It will only cut about a 1/2 inch deep. So if you can't crush it to a 1/2 inch deep, it won't cut it. So these hoses were very thick. See that there? That's the depth it'll cut to. The heater hose pretty much compresses and just cuts. These are heavier. And therefore I was getting stopped by the tool itself. I was wondering why I couldn't do it. So now this is pretty much free. One thing that should be noted here is there's a bracket here. These two heater hoses go in that bracket. Let me make sure that it's in the video frame. Move it over here. A little better vantage point now. Zoom in on it a bit. There you can see the bracket. It's a big heavy bracket. It's attached to the air conditioner compressor. So one of two things has to happen. You have to either thread the heater hose out through that bracket, or you have to remove the bracket. Now one of the bolts I've already loosened here when I loosened the wrong one. I was loosening these two bolts to try to rotate it, and the adjusting bolt was really right here. So that one's off. Now the other one, it goes underneath a bolt that goes all the way through here. I think that's what it is. I have to see if I can see that a little better. I certainly didn't design this car to make it easy to work on. Okay, and I can see I was pointing to a bolt you couldn't see, that bolt on the top there. That's what I loosened first, and that wasn't cutting it because the adjusting bolt was right down in that area there. Went through that bracket and into that other bracket. So I'm going to go find out what I've got to do to remove that clamp off of there. So that bracket does go to a bolt that goes through the mounting plate here, and again, a relatively long extension with a deep socket, because that stud is hanging over it, and oh joy, now I have to find something to hold the other end with. I'm guessing it's probably going to be 9/16 as well. And see if I can slip it in under the heater hose, because that's where I've got to hold it. That's a toughie. This is an odd-shaped bracket on here. You know what? I could play with this for a long time, or I can get myself some room. I'm going to replace the heater hoses anyway. Cut it there. Let's see if I can. Let's cut this one too. Heater hose is so cheap that it doesn't really make sense to try and save it. As much money as I'm going to dump into this car, it's just worth my time. I'm going to save to just cut these off, even if I was just doing maintenance on something that I had to get there. I think I would do the same thing. Now the other side of this bolt, actually what I think I'm going to do is use another socket on the other side. And that's got to be deep as well, because I don't have room to get it on. It's not the that there's a stud sticking through it. It's that the bracket that I'm trying to take off is actually in the way. So now that's on there. The deep is on the other side. And if I'm not mistaken, the compressor is going to come off when that bolt is free. Lost my socket. Okay, so that's the drill on that. I'm gonna shut off the video while I hunt for that socket and take that the rest of the way off, but that's how it's done. So there's the air conditioner compressor. That last bracket had this one bolt through it. This is kind of weird because somebody put a nut in there as a spacer. I doubt that GM did that originally, so somebody's been in here before. And then the wiring harness, there's a clip that needs to be disconnected, and I've got, looks like a 1/2-inch screw here holding the ground wire on, and then that's out. So I'm going to take one piece of the air conditioning tube off over there. I've already broken that nut loose. And then I'll disconnect. There's a little 3/8-inch head bolt holding that electrical thing on there. I'll take that off, but the rest of it, I'm going to wait till I pull the body off of the frame, and then when I move the frame out of the way and put the body on my dolly, I can actually stand up inside there and take off the box that holds the condenser evaporator, whichever it is, and the heater core, and the rest of the stuff from the air conditioning unit, and there will be plenty of room to work. So that's what I'm going to do for now, and I'll do a quick double check of everything else on that side. Probably cut those heater hoses shorter and things like that just to get them out of the way. And I think that's everything that's connecting the body to the frame on the passenger side of the car.